A great, fantastic spread has been put out by Dr. Shukla in terms of how India saves and spends, and clearly India in the cities is earning more, saving more, but there's a tremendous potential outside the urban cities. How can a company like yours, or what can the private sector do to tap this?
I think absolutely. Dr. Shukla has very clearly laid out the kind of potential which is there across, even if you look at what financial inclusion should mean. But as he rightly said, the range of exclusion from the urban to the rural is really in an ascending order. And therefore, you have exclusion happening across. Even in the urban, there is an exclusion. You also have a high level of exclusion in the rural areas. But the economy being the way it is, and the fact that to reach the last mile, it is that much more economically unviable, and therefore you really need to have a lot more technological inputs going into it, are the challenges which we really see as people get into the rural areas.
But you see a clear business proposition for private sector to reach out to those who have been marginalized or who are not in the mainstream?
Oh, significantly. In fact, if you look at some of the niche players who have been there, more on the non-banking finance side than on the banking side, they have really looked at some of these semi-urban and rural areas very, very effectively. And they have done it profitably over the years. Consistently over the last 30 years, Shriram is one example. We've got Sundaram Finance, who's been in the truck business. And if you look at Manappuram and others, they've been doing that business extremely well for the lower end of the population, urban and rural areas, and microfinance companies also have done it. So given that, I think the opportunity is phenomenal. And today, if even the Reserve Bank of India is coming out with policies to enhance that I think is an indication of how much the government also is keen to actually develop this as a focus area for the financial sector.
So, Chiragra and Mr. Sundararajan, I'll just take a break here. Dr. Shukla, we're just taking a break here. We come back and we're going to be looking at some of the policy initiatives taken by the government, whether it's business correspondence, where companies which are not in the system can become agents of banking services, as well as the plan to have new banks which will be able to serve these underserved areas. We come back in just a while and continue our debate on banking with people. You joined us for a special discussion on financial inclusion. Our show is Banking with People. Mr. Sundararajan, the Reserve Bank of India wants to bring in new banks, to give new bank licenses to ensure that there is a further spread. Is that something that could address the issue of financial inclusion? Can the new banks actually go to these areas and do business with the individuals, the citizens who are not living in cities, remote villages and small towns?
Most definitely. In fact, Dr. Subbarao had very clearly said there is a two-pronged approach which is going to be adopted to enhance financial inclusion. One is encouraging and cajoling the existing banking sector itself to actually get into the rural areas and into the excluded segments. Second is actually pick and choose people who have demonstrated this in a cost-effective manner, whether it is NBFCs or any other institution, and then try and see if they also provide the impetus which is required for this particular focus area. I think it's going to be a huge opportunity because people who have demonstrated risk appetite in terms of lending to people who cannot be lent through financial paper or salary slips, where you need to look at surrogates, and at the same time where ticket sizes are lower, therefore you need to use technology to ensure that your costs are effectively managed. These are things which are going to be critical challenges, and those are I think the criterion which RBI also is going to use to pick and choose these people and maybe experiment to see if can we make a significant difference to the inclusive growth which we can see in this country.
Dr. Shukla, if I could come to you on the policy part of it, you're aware of the policy framework which Reserve Bank has, Finance Ministry has, there are also microfinance institutions. My question to you is, do you need a policy incentive to be able to send and push private sector into these areas? Is that essential, or do you think that existing framework is fine and there is enough opportunity for the private sector to go there?
You see, the means you have made two important points which need to be just seen, and I believe that these two things seen a little bit differently in the way that first thing is that let me say that there is no actually the doubt about that there is lack of opportunity. There is huge opportunity, and then let me give the practical example to that. As per our experience, and when even the person like the Kaushik Basu, and when we were having the meeting, and we have made actually the objective analysis of that, the 40% people, those who are saving money in the rural India, they keep their saving at home actually. So this is opportunity, means it is like just like the reaching the services to these people, to, you can say that, to just grab this market. So there is no question of opportunities. Second aspect, as far as the policy is concerned, I believe we have to do a lot on that. Let me take one or two. Means there are several players. There are, you can say, private MFI also working in this area. But the most important thing is always in the, as government some of the projects, like the implementation is having huge actually problem. Particularly in the difficult area like rural, where the connectivity is weak, where you can say transportation is weak, you can say the reaching up to the needy people. And most important thing is the type of people those who are addressing. We should not forget that the majority of them lives in the rural India. Out of that, you will find 37% are the labor actually. If they are having sufficient, that is viable for the someone, yes or no, that need to be evaluated. Second thing is, literacy level is very, very low actually. They never understand the, you can say, the complicated technology you can say oriented this type of thing, because it is not only the awareness. Most important thing is that they should have belief on the system and participate in this type you can say the private and public partnership. Third thing which is also important for the, because if you see the MFI, they are means like I am not saying that because we are undertaking this study, but most important thing, the interest rate those who are charging, it ranges from the 22% to 28%, which is people are, and the Pranab Mukherjee has made this, they should cut down these charges. I am saying government saying only is not going to sufficient. One has to just take the action practically on the ground. Let us understand what are the practical things are there by which, and they are means like the private means bankers, they are making certain point. I believe that these points need into consideration and need to be addressed objectively by all three, means like for the user, for the service provider, and the government.
And let me ask Chiragra about this. What kind of changes in approach will the private sector have to make to address the needs of a rural economy, of people living in the small towns? If, as Dr. Shukla is saying, a big opportunity lies with daily wage laborers, how do you address that? What kind of change is needed for that?
Yeah, sorry. There are two things which are in my mind which should be approached in this when the private sector has to be brought into this, because a private sector company will definitely come when there's a big opportunity and they can, there's a profit incentive for that. But as I said in my earlier statement, also the behavioral pattern of these people are different. So and they have a confidence more on government sector than a private sector, which you have seen in earlier days also, where you have seen that UTI going and selling their mutual fund US 64 to their grassroots level, but where the other mutual funds were not able to do that, because people believe that the public sector can do that thing. So the confidence building has to be done by this private sector guys who will be going. And there's tremendous potential there. They can go and do that. So how do you build up this confidence? That's a more key function in this when you want to tap this rural area. The one of the thing which I think to build up confidence, which private sector can do, is they should have a local touch. They can tie up with the local bodies there, and based on that, maybe a company who is doing very good in that local area. Maybe some some financing companies which is there in the rural villages, maybe the post offices of that, where they can have a local touch. that you can provide these financial services. I think that will make them the hit. Build up of confidence is the key thing for them, so that you can get the people there.
Right, we take a short break over here. Once we return, we'll pose the question about technology. What are the ways in which technology can ensure that the services which are promised both by the government and the private sector are delivered in the most cost efficient manner? We come back in just a bit. You joined us for a special discussion on financial inclusion. Our show is Banking with People. We're looking at how technology can actually help the private sector reach out to the millions who are underserved. Chiragra, technology is a very important aspect of that. What are the ways in which technology can help companies reach out to the people who want their savings to be taken care of?
Yeah. Basically, if you look into the internet usage in India, it is not so very high. And the usage in internet in our country is not so high. The usage which is very high in our country is the mobile.
700 million, right?
Absolutely.
So can that 700 million cell phone users, can that platform be actually used for mobile banking?
There are two ways. Yeah, absolutely. One is that one can be the mobile banking. The mobile can go to the grassroots level, and that can be very easy to use it, because our people may not, rural people may not be able to use internet so efficiently, but they can definitely use mobile very efficiently. So if you are looking for remittances to be done through a mobile, so I think the mobile can be a very integral part of this technology. And second thing also I wanted to talk about here, sorry, is about the markets, the financial markets, because that is running through a technology platform now. So if you are looking for taking that market to that level, grassroots level, because market as a financial is also part of financial inclusion, so that also became a part of the technology which is there, because there is a platform, and when you can get these people on this platform, they automatically comes into the banking channel. So I think the market going to the grassroots level and the mobile usage, these are the two areas through which you can get these people on the technology platform.
Mr. Sundararajan, is that something which a company like yours would want to leverage? 700 million Indians have mobile phones. Is that a great opportunity for you?
Absolutely. I think if you look at technology, the most advanced and most penetrating manifestation of technology is the mobile, and that's definitely going to be a significant. It's going to play a significant role in all that financial institutions can do in extending their footprints and finance to the interior sectors of the economy. One more thing which is also going to be important along with the technology is the UID, the unique identification which is happening. As opening bank accounts is less of an issue, because even with limited KYC as they call it, you're not going to have too much of money laundering or any issues coming up. Whereas if you're going to extend credit to the same customer, while the mobile can facilitate it, the UID is required for us to ensure that the money is in right hands, and there is a very high probability of it coming back as well. So both these are critical.